Hi, thanks for watching BibleMountain.com. The conventional wisdom does not believe in the wrath of God. Many people believe that God is all love and patience and that He never gets mad at anyone or anything. However, Exodus 32 teaches us that God does get angry, particularly against idolatry. And then in Luke 12 we see a warning from Jesus that we should fear the one who has authority to cast us into hell, and that would be God. And so the lesson from all of this is that the wrath of God is real and that we should beware the wrath of God. Now let's take a closer look at this. We'll read in Exodus 32. The context of this is the Israelites are at Mount Sinai. Moses was up in the mountain for 40 days and God gave him the Mosaic law. And after 40 days, the Israelites started to lose some patience, and then that brought some problems, which is what we're going to read about starting in verse 1. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people assembled about Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who will go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." So notice the word delayed. Moses had been up in the mountain for 40 days, and so from the perspective of the Israelites down to the base of the mountain, his return was delayed. And so they went to Aaron and said, "Make us a god." Now that's a staggering statement in light of the fact of everything that had happened in the previous couple months. This was only a few months removed from when God performed all the miracles in Egypt and brought all the plagues on the Egyptians, and then God parted the Red Sea and brought the Israelites through the Red Sea on dry ground. And then God took the Israelites through the wilderness and provided food and water out in the middle of the wilderness. All of that happened a mere few months before this statement. And so even despite all the signs and miracles that God had performed for the Israelites, when Moses delayed to come down, the Israelites abandoned the one and only true God and told Aaron to make a god for them. And notice they said, "Well, we don't know what has happened to Moses." Now I have to admit that's somewhat of a reasonable statement. Moses had been up in the mountain for 40 days. And it was somewhat reasonable that the Israelites would think that maybe something had happened to Moses and perhaps he wasn't even alive anymore, and so they had to go about their lives without Moses. Verse 2, Aaron said to them, "Tear off the gold rings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me." Then all the people tore off the gold rings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. He took this from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made it into a molten calf. And they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." So notice Aaron was part of this. Aaron did not lead it, he did not instigate it, but he was part of it. He was following what the crowd wanted him to do. And notice that he made a molten calf. So the pronoun they refers to the Israelites, and after Aaron made the calf, the Israelites said, "This is your God, Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." Verse 5. Now when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to Yahweh." So the next day they rose early and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. So we see again Aaron was part of this, except this time Aaron did try and point them in the right direction. We see that Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to Yahweh." And so Aaron was somewhat guilty in that he had made the molten calf, but at least at this point, Aaron was trying to point them in the right direction. The fact that he made a proclamation and said that it would be a feast to Yahweh, Yahweh was the personal name of the one and only true God, and so Aaron was making an effort to get them to focus their attention on the one and only true God. Verse 7, Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, "Go down at once, for your people, whom you brought up from the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves." Now I have to admit I get a bit of a kick out of this verse. Notice the pronoun your that referred to the Israelites. And Yahweh said to Moses, "Your people have corrupted themselves." It's almost as if Yahweh was assigning responsibility for the Israelites to Moses and blaming Moses for the fact that Moses' people had turned aside and were worshiping these idols. Verse 8, The Israelites had quickly turned aside from the way which I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed to it and said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." Yahweh said to Moses, "I have seen this people, and behold, they are an obstinate people. Now then, let me alone, that my anger may burn against them, and that I may destroy them, and I will make of you a great nation." Notice the word obstinate. God and Moses understood very clearly the Israelites were obstinate. They had turned aside very quickly. And then notice that God made a reference to his anger. God wanted to let his anger burn. And that tells us God does indeed get angry. And that's in contrast to the conventional wisdom in our society and in our churches. Many people believe that God never gets angry about anything. But we see here that God did get angry. He got so angry that his anger was burning, and he wanted to destroy the Israelites. Now let's take a look at Luke 12. This is a warning from Jesus telling us whom we should fear. Let's start reading at verse 4. Jesus said, "I say to you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body and after that have no more that they can do, but I will warn you whom to fear. Fear the one who, after he has killed, has authority to cast into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him." So Jesus told us here, don't fear humans. Yes, humans can kill us, but they can't do anything to us after we die. Whereas God, Yahweh, he's the one that determines what happens to us after we die, and so we should fear him, because he has the authority to actually send us to hell. But as I said, the conventional wisdom doesn't believe in the wrath of God. They think that God never gets angry about anyone or anything. But we see in Exodus 32 that God does indeed get angry. Specifically, he gets very angry about idolatry. And then Jesus warns us in Luke 12 that we should fear the one who has authority to cast us into hell, and that is God. And the conclusion from all this is that we should beware of the wrath of God, because the wrath of God is indeed very real. If you haven't joined my email list yet, please do so. First of all, it is free. By signing up, you get immediate access to all my free content. It'll be delivered right to your email inbox. This is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of my free content. In order to sign up, go to BibleMountain.com, click on follow. There will be a place there to enter your email address. Once again, thank you for watching BibleMountain.com.